I'm going to get started in 30 seconds. Welcome to Social Aloe Ministries, where we set the captives free in the name of Jesus. The viewer count is much higher than expected because for me it is 2:55 in the morning. And I'm going to speak about dreams for a little bit. And now's the time of day when, at least here in the United States, many people are asleep and they're actually dreaming right now. But I'm not sure if you've ever had a dream where the colors are muted. And certainly, if you have a dream where the colors are vibrant and then there's another dream where the colors are muted, it is significant because with the Lord, details matter. Some things are going to be pointed directly to scriptures, and other things are in a sense a play on words. If you have a dream and the colors are muted, let me also preface it by saying this. A dream is based on context. One thing won't always mean the same thing in every dream. Hey, welcome. I hope all is well. So, dreams are based on context. So, one thing won't always mean the same thing in every dream. So the first thing is about a play on words. In a dream where the colors are muted, meaning they're understated, they're not very vibrant, the word muted also refers to being silenced. Kind of like you have a remote control for a TV. You hit the mute button, everything is still playing, but you can't hear the sound. So muted may mean something is silenced. And doesn't necessarily mean the thing is not significant, but it's just kind of silenced for a while. For example, I have this painting I've been working on. And I know on a live stream that colors are not going to be as vibrant, but there are a lot of things that are competing. You have vibrant blue, there's a vibrant green, and then the crown is also vibrant. If I wanted to make things stand out, like the crowns, I could have used a muted blue or a muted green. And that factors into the second point. Sometimes a dream has muted colors to make something more salient. Sometimes the entire dream is muted, which is also an attention getter. Because like, okay, why are these colors so understated throughout the entire dream? So maybe the Lord has been giving a lot of dreams, and maybe there may be recurring dreams, but maybe you're not writing them down. You're not asking him what they mean. So he may give you a dream with muted colors, and that has a effect regarding salience. And salience in 2 points. Salience is that the dream is muted so it stands out, so it gets your attention. But salience may also mean some parts are muted and others have more vibrant colors. And the muted colors are kind of like background information. Yes, it's important, it sets a tone, but what the Lord wants you to focus on are the vibrant areas. And the same thing where if parts of the dream are out of focus and others are clearly in focus, the Lord's letting you know that he wants you to focus on those things that are in focus. And don't pay too much attention, because sometimes we can get so wrapped around the axle, as some may say, so focused on the details that we miss the bigger picture. And like with muted colors, the shirt I'm wearing is purple. You may have seen me wear another purple shirt. That purple is vibrant. This one is more muted. And for example, in terms of ministry, the color purple has a significance. Like for the vibrant purple versus this purple, its significance as a minister, it's not diminished, even though the color may be. because bright colors may also represent pride, where we may need to tone things down a little bit. Because sometimes people may wear, for example, bright clothing because they're trying to get noticed. I'm going to be going back and forth. Bright colors may be a warning, like poisonous frogs. Muted colors, it doesn't mean like something is less dangerous. For example, there's some snakes. They don't have bright colors, like a taipan. It doesn't have bright colors, but it's poisonous, it's dangerous. Salience, so that the muted colors do not compete with the main subject. So the Lord's trying to bring something out. And I actually have some sample photographs here from my collection that I'm going to show as examples. Like this one here is of a simple shell. I'm trying to do it at an angle so the lights don't interfere with it too much. But the shell is white, and the colors, which are earth tones, it makes the shell stand out even more. A dandelion. The flower stands out, but everything in the background, it is there, it is important, but doesn't stand out as much. And this one here is color and grayscale. Like this flower, the yellow stands out even more, the petals, because the background is a bit muted. Hi Diana. And a final example to show the salience. Like I took a photograph or some photographs of a wedding several years ago, and I could have had everything in color, but the rings stand out even more because everything else is grayed out. It is muted. So in some aspects, it's like if a dream is muted or portions of the dream is muted. It's almost like the Lord is turning down the volume on those areas and He's turning up the volume on other areas. So it's like being in a crowded room. A bunch of people are speaking, but the person who's closest to you that you're speaking with stands out the most. That is the loudest. You can hear everything else, but may not be discerned. So that's an example of salience regarding why the Lord may give you a dream and the colors are muted, or some colors are muted, some are vibrant. It may also point to age or wisdom. And how do muted colors point to age? Well, imagine having a photograph, and over time the ink fades, so the colors aren't as vibrant. Or you have a piece of clothing. Initially it was vibrant, but the more you wash it, the colors start running, start fading. So it may point to age or wisdom. And like with our hair, as we get older, the hairs eventually start getting gray. So it speaks about age or wisdom, and for that we look at Proverbs 20, verse 29, where it reads, "The glory of young men is their strength, and the honor of old men is their gray hair." So like the photograph of the wedding rings, the background was grayed out, the wedding rings, I didn't touch them up at all, but they stood out even more. So graying or the faded look, the muted tones, may represent age or wisdom. Another thing it may represent, because the colors are understated, it doesn't mean the importance is. So with this, it may represent something that's subtle. Not necessarily in your face, but it's subtle. It also requires discernment, because when something is bright, it may automatically get your attention. When something is understated, subdued, muted, then you usually have to pay more attention to truly notice. So it's subtle. It represents being delicate, a gentle spirit, or a quiet spirit. And for that, we look at two scriptures. The first is 1 Peter 3, starting in verse 1. And it states, "In the same way, you wives, be submissive to your own husbands, so that even if any of them are disobedient to the word, that they may be won without a word by the behavior of their wives, as you observe your chaste and respectful behavior. Your adornment must not be merely external, braiding the hair, wearing gold jewelry, or putting on dresses." And that reminds me of Jezebel. When Jehu showed up for her execution, she fixed herself up. She was trying to spot, and also by putting on makeup. And like makeup, ladies, when you put on makeup, there are times when what you do in the summer is different from the winter. In the winter, the colors may be more subdued, and same thing with your clothing. And in the summer, may be more vibrant. So again, your adornment must not be merely external, braiding the hair and wearing gold jewelry or putting on dresses, but let it be the hidden person of the heart. The hidden person of the heart. It's also looking deeper. And like when it comes to relationships, the Lord may present someone to you who's not your type. And it may literally be like giving you a gift in a brown paper bag. But just because it's wrapped in a brown paper bag or a brown box, it may look muted. But when you open it up, what are you going to find inside? And the thing about the hidden person, when a person's exterior, and not that it's not attractive, but it may not get a lot of people's attention unless they're truly paying attention. That's one of the ways the Lord hides a person in plain sight. And I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. That's why sometimes you may have a friend. And you think the friend looks okay, but then the friend gets married, and it's like the person just becomes more attractive. That's kind of like what happened. The person was always that way, or in some cases the person does improve, but the person was hidden. So again, let it be the hidden person of the heart with the imperishable quality of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is precious in the sight of God. Okay, Diana, you're getting in my notes now. You're getting in my notes. So again, with the quality of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is precious in the sight of God. There are times in a relationship or potential relationship where some woman, and not necessarily just being outspoken, but they're outspoken, and it becomes in a sense like a competition with a man. And it may not cause the man to want to protect her as much. And this speaks about like the woman You know what? I'm going to read a little bit further. For in this way, in former times, the holy women also, who hoped in God, used to adorn themselves, being submissive to their own husbands. And by the way, being submissive doesn't mean a person's a pushover. It's kind of like in the military. A junior soldier submits to a senior soldier. Kind of like how David submitted to King Saul. If they were to get into a battle, a fight, does it mean that Saul could have defeated David? I doubt it. I doubt it. But David submitted to Saul. And it doesn't mean that David was a lesser person than Saul, but David submitted to Saul. It says, just as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, you have become her children if you do what is right without being frightened by any fear. You husbands, in the same way, live with your wives in an understanding way, as with someone weaker. And typically speaking, women are generally weaker physically than men. Oh, by the way, I was on Facebook the other day and I saw a disturbing video. And there was a woman clearly in her third trimester, and it looked like it was an African nation or Caribbean, but she was walking clearly in her third trimester, like she was about to go into labor any day now. Then on her back was a baby who was wrapped around her, tied to her, and I think she had a child or a child who was walking to her left, and then on her head was a stainless steel pan. I'm not sure what was in the pan itself, but on top of the pan I saw wood that I know was firewood, and a couple hands of either bananas or plantains. And then behind her, the man was walking, and he had a machete that he kind of rested on his right shoulder. So the woman was doing all that work, and I'm thinking this one's probably going to go into labor pretty soon, and she's going to be expected to get back to work like that. So this time she'll have basically an infant, a toddler, and a child, and that takes strength. That's a different kind of strength. And yes, what she was doing was a feat of strength, but it takes mental endurance and a whole bunch of other qualities to do something like that. But the man, and some things are cultural. I'm like, man, at least carry the firewood. And it says, okay, you husbands, in the same way, live with your wives in an understanding way, as with someone weaker, since she is a woman, and show her honor as a fellow heir of grace of life, so that your prayers will not be hindered. To sum it up, all of you be harmonious, sympathetic, brotherly, kind-hearted, and humble in spirit, not returning evil for evil or insult for insult, but giving a blessing instead. For you are called for the very purpose that you might inherit a blessing. So the muted colors may represent submissiveness, giving space for another to shine. The humble, the gentle spirit. And sometimes these things have to be discerned. And also, meekness should not be misconstrued for weakness. Jesus was meek. He came in riding in on a donkey, on a colt. He came in meek, but Jesus was not weak. And even his crucifixion, he humbled himself to the point of death. Of course, now he has authority over death and hell, but he humbled himself to death. So we see the muted colors. And also, as a man, if I see a woman and she has loud makeup, and I see someone who is more subdued, my attention would be drawn more to the person who doesn't have a lot of stuff on. Because if I see a lot of stuff, it kind of like, okay, what are you covering up? So as close to natural as possible. So the gentle spirit. Another thing it's also linked to, when Diana was getting my notes a while ago, in Proverbs 31 verse 30 it states, charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. She shall be praised. So bright colors can be like charm. It's like trying to pull someone in. So charm is deceitful and beauty is vain. But a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. So again, for this section, muted colors, they're subtle and representing delicate, gentle spirit, or delicate, gentle, or quiet spirit. And the two scriptures were from 1 Peter and Proverbs 31, 1 Peter 3 and Proverbs 31:30. I mentioned before, because things are muted and it doesn't stand out as much, and because it doesn't stand out doesn't mean it's not outstanding. It has to be spiritually discerned. That's the other thing. It has to be spiritually discerned. I mentioned the other day about Absalom. I'm going to take a look at him to compare and contrast. In 2 Samuel 14, verses 25 and 26, it states, "Now, in all Israel, there was no one as handsome as Absalom, so highly praised. From the sole of his foot to the crown of his head, there was no defect in him. When he cut his hair, or when he cut the hair of his head, and it was at the end of every year that he cut it, for it was heavy on him, so he cut it. He weighed the hair of his head at 200 shekels by the king's weight." So with this, it speaks about Absalom. He was handsome, the most handsome man in Israel. He was praised. It says from the sole of his foot to the crown of his head, there was no defect in him. But Absalom had some things going on the inside. And a person may not be the most attractive on the outside, but if a person's heart, as you can say, is one with the Lord, then a person will look more attractive. And that's why a person who may not be an attention getter in a matter of speaking, physically, when a person gets to know the individual, then the person's heart stands out. The person demonstrates godly character. So Absalom, the most handsome man in Israel. But we know what he did to his father, even to the point of sleeping with his father's 10 concubines. Now we'll contrast that to another. Hey, Marsha. We'll contrast that with another man. And for this, we'll go to Isaiah 53, which tells you which man I'm going to be speaking about. Start verse 1. "Who has believed our message? And to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? For he grew up before him like a tender shoot, and like a root out of a parched ground." And now get this. "He has no stately form or majesty, that we should look upon him, nor appearance that we should be attracted to him. He was despised and forsaken of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, and like one from whom men hid their face. He was despised, we did not esteem him." And this is speaking about Jesus. And it says, "He has no stately form or majesty." The Lord truly humbled himself by coming here on earth, cloaking himself in human flesh, that we should look upon him, nor appearance that we should be attracted to him. But it's funny when the Lord approached certain men and was saying, "Follow me," they dropped their stuff and they followed him. So it wasn't about how Jesus looked, but who had a heart more pure than Jesus. So again, with a dream with muted colors, it may represent things that needs to be spiritually discerned. Absalom, the most handsome man in Israel, without basically a spot or blemish, but he had internal issues. Jesus, speaking about his appearance, it's kind of like may not have been nothing to look at the way he looked back then, but he had that hidden beauty. So subtleness, muted colors, hidden beauty. Everyone may not appreciate it, but the ones who need to appreciate it will. Muted colors are also warm. Hey, how you doing? Oh, Maryland also? Muted colors also represent warmth. Bright colors may be more like hot. Gray or black and white, you could be like cold. It's like when something is cold, whether you've been to prison or not, or jail, regardless of how vibrant it is, it's like a prison environment is a cold environment. And by the way, since I mentioned black and white, if you have a dream in black and white, it oftentimes represents what the enemy's plans against your life is. And the Lord is warning you. So he shows you that stuff in black and white. Also, because it's like, you can say it's missing the Lord's presence, there's no color. So the black and white may represent darkness and the enemy's plans for your life. Warmth, the subdued colors, it's inviting. And it's kind of like how a strong fragrance can be overpowering to the point of being repulsive. It may make you gag. But if it's a more subdued fragrance, it's kind of like, that's a nice smell. Light, airy, and it's not too strong. And when something is warm, it is more palatable than being hot or cold. I'm going to say something here in a little bit that may seem to contradict it. But if something is too hot, you won't be able to drink it or eat it. It'll burn your mouth. And some things are served at different temperatures based on what it is. Ice cream is better cold than hot. Another thing is, it may represent warmth, but it may also represent being lukewarm. And for this, we look at Revelation 3, verses 15 and 16, where Jesus said, I know your deeds, that you were neither cold nor hot. I wish you were cold or hot. So because you are lukewarm and neither hot nor cold, I will spit you out of my mouth. So the muted colors may represent warmth, which is inviting, or it may represent lukewarmness. And a part of that, it may also represent a transition. Like during the fall, leaves in trees, they turn a vibrant color. Typically, deciduous trees, they turn a vibrant color, and then they become more muted, and then they die. The leaves fall off. And a part of that may represent a person's relationship with the Lord, how close you are to him. Now, if it's transitioning, in a sense, the closer you get into the Lord, the brighter things are becoming. But if you're drifting away from him, things may become more muted. So for example, if you're used to praying every day, and then you're having dreams and the colors are bright, but then a week goes by and you're not really spending a lot of time with the Lord, and he gives you a dream and the colors are muted, that's one way he's communicating, or potentially communicating, that you're drifting away from him. They need to pull closer to him. So it may represent a transition. So again, like the fall, and it may represent your proximity to the Lord, how close your relationship is with him. Is it on fire? Is it becoming lukewarm? Another thing is, it may represent something that's not fully developed or revealed. And if you're old enough to remember the instant cameras, where you take a photograph and make a noise, and you shake it, and you look at it, and you see something coming out, but the colors aren't fully formed. And in the process of time, then the colors are fully formed. Or newborn children. Newborn children, the color, I'll just say babies. Newborn babies, their color isn't always at its fullness. Sometimes it's more subdued color. Like children who are black. They may be born with a grayish hue, and as time goes on, the color becomes more vibrant. So it may represent something that's not fully developed or revealed, which means a plan that will have greater clarity in the future. Again, a plan that will have greater clarity in the future. Because when the Lord reveals something to us, He doesn't always give us a complete picture. And it's an invitation to draw into a closer relationship with Him, to find out what the thing is. For example, in Genesis 12, starting verse 1. Now the Lord said to Abram, go forth from your country, and from your relatives, and from your father's house, to the land which I'll show you. So all Abram knew was that he was supposed to leave his family and go somewhere the Lord would show him. So the Lord had a plan, and for the Lord was a complete plan. But Abram was not made privy or aware of those plans. And the Lord continued, and I'll make you a great nation, and I'll bless you, and make your name great. And so you shall be a blessing, and I'll bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you, I will curse. And in you all the families of the earth will be blessed. So all Abram truly knew was he needed to leave his family, his country, and go somewhere the Lord would show him. So it was a plan that for Abram, it was not complete. There's a lot of details that were missing. Another thing that's tied to is 2 Corinthians 5, verse 7, where Paul wrote, for we walk by faith and not by sight. So the colors may be muted because it's going to require faith. It's not vibrant because you don't have the complete picture. So it requires walking by faith. Let me see here. I've been able to look at these comments, but this is a relatively short message, and I pray it helps those, if anyone on here is impacted so far. Okay, so you had a dream of a white sweatshirt with the word faith on it in capital letters. However, the sweatshirt had some black dust stains on it. Well, white is oftentimes indicative of purity, like in things Revelation 16, where the saints are around the Lord's throne under the altar asking for justice, and He told them to wait just a little bit longer until the other saints are basically martyred, and about Him cloaking them in white. So white oftentimes represents righteousness, and Jesus even spoke in Matthew 23 about Jesus spoke in Matthew 23. He spoke in Matthew 23 about the Pharisees being like whitewashed sepulchres, or whitewashed tombs. That represented a religious spirit. It was fake. Now, also look at Hebrews 11. Let me see here. When I said Hebrews 11, Marsha, I was reminded when you said you saw the number 1111. And in Hebrews 11, verse 11, by faith, even Sarah herself received ability to conceive, even beyond the proper time of life, since she considered him faithful, who had promised. Now I read on verse 12. Therefore, there was born even of one man, and him, as good as dead, at that, as many descendants as the stars of the heaven in number, and innumerable as the sand which is by the seashore. That also speaks about the promise that I read a while ago from Genesis 12. And it's linked to Genesis 13 and 15, where the Lord told Abraham to look up at the stars, if you can count them, to look down at the dust. So Hebrews 11, so by faith, and Hebrews 11 speaks about faith. Now you mentioned about it had black dust stains on it. And when I read that, the first thing that came up, like in olden times, I think like the movie Mary Poppins, they had those who were chimney sweepers. And when they're doing the work of a chimney sweeper, then they get dusty, or like a miner. Just by being in a coal mine, the dust comes upon them. So even though if something is white and it has dirt on there, and the dirt may represent impurity, a part of that, we're saved by faith, and it's not by works. Yet faith without works is dead. Faith without works is dead. So having some dirt on a white garment represents doing some works. Another thing that's also coming up, we have to be the salt of the earth. And I heard a recent teaching on this. A lot of times people think about, when Jesus spoke about being the salt of the earth, people think about salt on meat. But there is also a form of salt which is a fertilizer that goes into the ground. And when you come in contact with the ground, you're going to get dirty. At what we call Last Supper, Jesus washed his apostles' feet. Peter was talking about washing other body parts, but the Lord told him that he was clean and didn't need to wash those body parts. But they had dirt on their feet because they were making contact with the ground. So having a little bit of dirt on you, yes, it's good to have purity or pure faith, but it also speaks about doing the work of the Lord. And the faith, the words were in capital letters. That also speaks about being bold with your faith, because when something's all caps, it stands out. And if in modern times, typically we're writing on like a white screen or white paper, and the letters are black, and the black letters aren't a bad thing. It creates a opposite effect, because if the letters were in white, it'd be harder to see. And when we're typing and it's in all caps, it's kind of like shouting. We're making something more pronounced. It's also good when the faith is written on the front of the sweatshirt as opposed to the back. Because when it's written on the front, sometimes before people see you, they'll see your faith in the Lord. So I pray this helps. By all means, pray about this. Tanya, my gosh. Now my eyes are getting teary. Let me tell you a little story. I mentioned, yes, like 2 days ago, when I did the last broadcast, that I had 4 messages to deliver, but I delivered 3. And it was my intention to deliver this message yesterday. But then I felt tired and I decided to take a nap, and I woke up like at 11 p.m. And then I was getting ready to deliver this message, and I had the concept for the cover image, which is how the Lord kind of lets me know that I can deliver the message now. But I'm going through stuff and it's like, nah, I didn't like it. I selected one image, and that's actually the image that's the cover image for this message. I selected the image, but the quality wasn't good, so I went back and I got another image and just kept on getting delayed. I'm starting to think, maybe I just need to put this off and just do it later in the day. But I felt like I should push on through. And then here I am delivering this message, and you come on at this time. Which, all the glory to the Lord. Because again, I wanted to deliver this message sooner. And then I was like, well, maybe I should just put it off. Because sometimes you can tell when things aren't working. So glory to God for His timing. Glory to God for His timing. Wow. When I was worshiping, praying to God 3 to 4 times per day, my dreams were more vivid and colors were sharp. Lately, my dreams have been muted. Wow. Yes, salt is important. It's found more places than we think. If I get any revelations about the sweatshirt and the faith and the little spots of dust, I'll probably see you on here again. So I'll let you know. But I'll leave the rest up to you and the Lord. And praise the Lord for the timing of this message. And with this, I'm not saying it covers everything regarding muted dreams, but it's some revelations the Lord dropped on me a couple of days ago, and now I get to share it with you. Because personally speaking, I can't remember the last time I had a dream with muted colors. But glory to God. So I pray this message blesses you, whether you're up early in the morning or if you're on the other side of the world. It may be in the afternoon right now, but for me it is 3:36 in the morning, and I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. But I pray this message blesses you. May the Lord keep and protect you, whether you're going back to sleep, or your day's just starting, or your day's coming to an end. Wheresoever you are in the day, let the Lord guide you into all truth. And Jesus is Lord.